Ningen Isu.
Greetings, viewers, few that there may be. I'm Peter Scove. This is Music is a Journey. Today was going to be another Side Trips episode, but I have the funny feeling I'm going to over-talk for a Side Trips episode. So we're just going to go ahead and make this episode 22. Haha. And today it's going to be a band or artist feature. In this case, it's a band feature. Today I want to talk about this band, Ningen Isu. Alright, Ningen Isu recently seemed to be all over my YouTube feed with all these reaction videos, as well as videos from the official band page, because they're really promoting themselves these days, it seems. How I got to know about them? Well, as I mentioned in my previous video about Japanese bands, it was around sometime in September, I think, end of August. I opened up YouTube and I saw this thing here saying that there was this video to watch by some group called Ningen Isu. Now, if it weren't for the fact that I actually knew the title, I probably wouldn't have watched the video. It just seemed like some strange thing. But anyway, as it so happens, I know Ningen Isu from this book, Japanese Tales of Mystery and Imagination by Edogawa Rampo. Edogawa Rampo was very much inspired by the likes of Edgar Allan Poe, hence Edogawa Rampo, Edgar Allan Poe. This is his pen name, and also H.P. Lovecraft and other mystery and suspense writers of those days. And the very first story in this book is called The Human Chair. And that's exactly what Ningen Isu means. Ningen, human, Isu, chair. So, the band got their name from that story. So, because I knew that, I watched the video. The video was for a song called Heartless Scat, which I'm sure many people have seen by now because it has over 2.5 million views after the first 6 months of being on the internet. And there are a lot of reaction videos to Heartless Scat. As well, I've seen reaction videos to another song called Namahage, or there was one of their first songs actually performed live. Well, there's just been a whole bunch of them. There's just a lot of reaction videos to Ningen Isu. And the amazing thing is, maybe it's not so amazing, but what happens is everybody starts watching these videos and they say, well, you know, somebody left a comment in the comment section, I should watch this, or somebody recommended this band, I don't really remember. And then they see the band members. Well, let's see here. No, I'm going to put a picture right here. They see the band members and they go, oh, what is this? And then the band starts playing and they're like, wow, and then, whoa, and yeah, and by the end of it, there's nothing but praises gushing forth for Ningen Isu. So my reaction was similar. I watched it and I thought, whoa, look at these guys, that's interesting. And then listened to the music and mind blown. And after a couple of weeks, I decided to order a couple of CDs. And soon after, order a couple more, and then more and more. And, well, here you see the result. Yeah, I have almost all of them now. So, let's talk a little bit about Ningen Isu. Where are they from? Yes, they're from Japan. They are from Aomori Prefecture. Map to appear here. Way up there. And Aomori is famous for apples, apple production. As well, the town they are from, Hirosaki, is also famous for its cherry blossoms. Alright, so Ningen Isu formed in 1987. The original members, of course, still with the band today, Shinji Wajima and Kenichi Suzuki. Shinji Wajima plays guitars and does vocals, and Kenichi Suzuki also vocals and plays bass. Now these two are the crux of the band. They were joined in 1987 by Noriyoshi Kamidate on drums, and he stayed with them until the end of their third album, up to 1992. I think in 1993 he left, and so for their fourth album they brought in Masahiro Goto to play drums. But basically I think he was just a kind of stand-in drummer at that time, because the artwork for that album inside shows only Wajima and Suzuki together. And yeah, it looks like a duo. Then they managed to get in, what's his name? Iwao Tsuchiya, who came in for the next 2 albums, and then he left, and they called Masahiro Goto back again, and then he stayed with them for the next many albums until 2003 he left, and then they got a hold of Nobu Nakajima, who started with them in 2004 and has remained their drummer since then. So with their debut coming out in 1989, they have a 30-year recording history, and they are celebrating that this year with December 11th, a 30-year anniversary double disc compilation of their career, and as well, this book that I held up before, this also celebrates their 30 years together as a band, and in fact, if I open up, they did a lot of kind of promo photos together like this. Alright, now one of the things that's really interesting, as I mentioned about their look, this is Shinji Wajima. He likes to wear traditional Japanese clothes called hakama these days, and very expensive one too, I think, by now. Guitars, and then over here, Kenichi Suzuki on bass. He likes to dress like a Buddhist monk. And then finally in the middle, Nobu Nakajima. He looks more like some kind of southern gangster in a way. But anyway, unique band, because as you know, in the world of Japanese metal, there are either the really metal-looking type guys with the long hair, the leather and denim and so on, or there's the visual K type with all those really fabulous dresses and so on. Okay, so anyway, these guys really stand out, and they surprise everyone because their look is just so different, and yet their music is bang on phenomenal. Their inspirations, from the beginning, basically you could say Black Sabbath and Budgie. They also claim to be into King Crimson, Kiss, Led Zeppelin. Wajima's into the Beatles, apparently, as well, which actually does show up in the occasional song now and again. And Suzuki, at the time they met, he was into Saxon, Judas Priest, I think, and so basically you have this heavy rock, early heavy metal from the 70s, as well as you have some influence from 80s metal as well. And my impression of all the songs I've heard is that basically they can cover from 1967 to 1987 and play just about anything in there. Now, the interesting thing I should also point out is that we have guitars, bass, drums, and that is just about it. There are keyboards at the end of one song on one album, and another album I don't have, there is a guest keyboard credit. Otherwise, that's it. 21 studio albums, maybe only 2 songs with keyboards in at all. Okay, then, other instruments? The only other notable instrument I would point out is the jamisen, which is a Japanese stringed instrument. Looks like this. And Wajima and I think Suzuki too both play this, so it does appear on a few of their songs. Another interesting point about them is, as I said, they can cover any style of music from basically 1967 to 1987, and they do it with such accuracy. It just blows everybody's mind. That's why all these reaction videos, people are just jaw to the floor, I can't believe this. They're that fantastic at what they do. It is really incredible that they have they are able to play such a range of basically heavy rock music. What range is it? Well, okay, this is interesting. We've got hard rock, heavy prog, heavy psychedelic, basically your traditional heavy metal, some speed metal, progressive rock, also a little bit of rock and roll, and alternative rock. So this is not like over their career they gradually changed their sound and went through all these different motions. No, it's like each album will grab from some of those, and then another album might omit something from the previous one but grab something else. And so those basically 9 different subgenres they are dipping into for every album, and each song may have 2 or 3 different genres mixed, depending on how you want to interpret it. Anyway, really incredible. So, what was I saying? Anything else about the music? The singing style is also really interesting because they do not sing like your typical Japanese rock band or heavy metal band. Both of them sing in a more traditional style of singing, which is like, well, okay, here's an example. This is from a kids show called Nihongo de Asobo. It's about, like, anyway, traditional Japanese things, a kids show. And this is what their singing style is like. It's like this very traditional Japanese theater type style, but they do it to perfectly executed Western hard rock stuff, heavy metal. So it's really cool. Wajima's voice is the more cleaner voice. You can see him in the video for Heartless Scat, that's him singing. And then Suzuki's voice is this more gruff kind of voice. And if you watch the Namahage video, he sings part of it. Suzuki has the white painted bald head and he's making the faces all the time. Very entertaining guy. Anyway, so that just gives you a basic idea of what their music is like and their vocal style is like. And basically all lyrics are in Japanese, all song titles in Japanese, all album titles in Japanese, which is also different from the majority of Japanese just pop music. There are a lot of English titles or lyrics with English words or sentences in there, and they eschew that entirely. It's just straight forth Japanese. And one of the things that Wajima said in one interview, he said that we write in Japanese because that's our language, that's our culture, and we can write from the heart. We can express our ideas as we feel they need to be expressed. If he starts writing in English, then probably something is lost in translation anyway. Okay, so I think I'm just going to go straight on in and start talking about some of most of their albums, I guess. First of all, their debut album was actually an EP with 7 songs. It was just self-titled, Ningen Isu. Came out in 1989. It was an independent released album. All the artwork inside was, and I think even the lyrics, everything was done by Mr. Wajima. And featured 7 songs. 3 of them were later on re-recorded for the debut album, which was the next year. And the other 4 have since been re-recorded and appeared on compilation albums. The original EP is out of print. I think even the company doesn't exist anymore, if I understand correctly. And for a while, any albums recorded by that company, since they weren't receiving any promotion, they ended up in the discount bins at a lot of record stores. And now, of course, Ningen Isu's EP is actually fetching a pretty decent price if you can get a hold of it. Then, 1990, they released their debut album. This is the debut here, Ningen Shikaku. This is the title of a famous Japanese book by an author, Osamu Dazai. And actually his book was made into a TV drama, and I think there was also a movie being filmed around now. One of the actresses, she was recently arrested for drug possession and drug use. Anyway, but yeah, Ningen Shikaku. The title is translated to English as No Longer Human, but the word shikaku actually means a disqualification. So it's like disqualified as a human. What is that book about? I wonder if I can find the English version and read it. Anyway, this was their start, and right off the bat, the Budgie Black Sabbath influence is there. In fact, after the first track, which is instrumental, track 2 is called Hari no Yama, which is basically Needle or Spine Mountain, but has been given the English title Spiny Mountain in Hell. This is exactly Budgie's Bread Fan, which was covered by Metallica. The music is exactly that, just they have rewritten the lyrics as Japanese lyrics and tell a different story in that song, but it is blistering, and some people even say it's better than Budgie's version. The rest of the album also continues on in that vein. In fact, it really does sound like some lost gem from the early 70s. The whole sound of the album has that early 70s sound. Makes me wonder if there isn't some influence from the Flower Traveling Band or some of the other heavy Japanese bands from the early 70s. Pretty cool. This one is, of course, available. In fact, most of their albums were re-released in 2016 on, what's it called now? Ultimate High Quality CD. UHQ CD, sometimes just called high quality CD. So that's pretty cool. And one thing I like about that is that you can listen to all of those albums through. There is no need to increase the volume, lower the volume, change whatever equalizer settings. They've all been, I guess, remastered in a way so that there's consistency in the sound throughout. Because you know how it is, you sometimes, like one band has this album released with this company and another album released with another company, and somebody mixed it and mastered it this way, another person did it another way. And if you're listening to a mixed playlist of songs, sometimes you have to turn the volume up and other times put the volume down. That is not necessary because all of their albums, nearly all anyway, were reissued in 2016. So that is cool. Ningen Shikaku 1990 full-length debut album, followed up the next year by Sakura no Mori no Mankai no Shita, which was actually one of the songs off the previous album, as well as a song on the debut EP from 1989. What it means is basically beneath the cherry blossom forest in full bloom, is what you would translate that as. I love the opening track, Bakudan Koshin Kyoku. It's basically Bomb March, and it is a fast-paced, hard-rocking tune. Sounds awesome. I don't know if you can see that picture on the back there, but that looks really, really 70s. Almost looks like, yeah, okay. The rest of the album also is, it's a slight step different from the other one. The sound is upgraded. We're not talking about 1971. We're now looking at 73, 74, sound-wise. In some ways, a little less progressive than the other one, but still there are a couple of long tracks on here, and one of them, Yashagaike, it goes through different stages, like a slow, traditional Japanese folk ballad at first, and then builds into an acoustic, more like 70s acoustic track, and then goes into heavy doomy type track. So pretty cool. I quite like this album. This opening song just made me think, okay, this is a band I'm definitely going to be able to get into. 1991. Then, 1992, we come out with Ogong no Yoake, which basically means the Golden Dawn. And the title of this album comes from the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, a secret society that formed in the late 19th century in Britain and stuck around for some decades. This album is really different because this is much more of a progressive rock album. Longer songs in many parts, different things happening. I think at least 5 of the songs are over 7 minutes long. There are not so many short songs on this one here. If you are interested in the kind of heavy prog sound of the early 70s, this is one heck of an album to get. And a lot of people will tell you this is not the album to get to find out what the band is about. But as a unique stopover in their evolution, this is quite a fantastic piece of work. Great music on here. Yeah, the title track, Suibotsu Toshi, which is the submerged city, Mugon Denwa, Prank Call, just about everything on here. Pretty darn cool album. So if you're thinking about which album should I get, probably you should add this in your top 5 to choose. Oh, you know what I was supposed to be doing here? I was supposed to be giving you some of the ratings. See, I've done some snooping on the internet, and I'm going to tell you, Ningen Shikaku, ratings on Encyclopedia Metalum, the Metal Archives, is 83%. Metal Storm gives it 8.5. Amazon, it's full 5 stars. And there's a website, somebody has ranked, in his opinion, all of Ningen Isu's albums from the debut album, not the EP, debut album Ningen Shikaku, all the way through to the 19th album. And he rates Ningen Shikaku as number 11. Then, Sakura no Mori no Mankai no Shita, the second album, is rated from at 81% Encyclopedia Metallum, 9 on Metal Storm, 4.5 stars on Amazon, and it's ranked as number 10 on that person's list of ranking Ningen Isu's albums. Then the one we just talked about, Ogo no Yoake, 94% on Encyclopedia Metallum, 9.3 on Metal Storm, 5 stars on Amazon, and number 2 on that ranking of their albums. So I'm going to refer back to this here from time to time. Okay, I should also mention that there are actually songs on here which are inspired by both Edogawa Rampo's books and H.P. Lovecraft's books. The very last track, what does it say? I can't even read it. Well, basically it translates as the Mountains of Madness. And that's from an H.P. Lovecraft song. Okay, I want to move on to album number 4 from 1993. This is Rashomon, for heaven's sake. And of course, just 2 people here because this is the one where they had Masahiro Goto come in as a stand-in temporary drummer. So the 2 main dudes, Wajima and Suzuki on the front, and this nice little artwork on the back, which is actually their 2 faces. Okay, this one here, the progressive parts were really stripped back suddenly, rather abruptly, and it goes more for a straightforward hard rock, heavy metal type album. This also, the title track features the shamisen instrument I mentioned earlier. And let's see here, this one here, Rashomon is 86% on Encyclopedia Metallum, 9 on Metal Storm, 5 stars on Amazon, and the 4th position on the Ningen Isu albums ranked site. Yeah. Couple of really great tracks on that one. Okay, so what happened then? We go on to albums 5 and 6, and here, because they were in need of a drummer, this is where they brought in Iwao Tsuchiya. And the next 3 actually, were released on indie labels, or not indie labels, I mean different labels. And those have never been reissued. So the first of them, let me see here, it is Issunboshi, Odoru Issunboshi, which is translated, I think, as the dancing little man or something like that. Issunboshi is actually a folktale character who was about this big, and he went off to fight some oni, and I think in the end he grows to normal human size, but yeah, he's mentioned in the title there. I can't really say much about that album because I don't have it. It is available on iTunes, so if I don't want a CD, which is almost impossible to get, except for paying a very expensive price for used ones, I could get the music from iTunes, and I might just do that if there are no reissues forthcoming. And the second album, Mugen no Junin, was released on the Pony Canyon label. That one also has not been reissued. What are their rankings? Let's see here. Odoru Issunboshi was given 92% on Encyclopedia Metallum. Metal Storm gave it 9. Amazon, it's ranked with 4 stars, rated 4 stars, and it's ranked as number 19 out of 19 on that list. And the person says it's not that there aren't bad songs on it, it's just not as good as the others. Fair enough. And Mugen no Junin, 90%, Metal Storm 9, Amazon 5 stars, ranked as number 9 on that list there. So that one is certainly looked at more favorably. However, we're going to move on to this one. Let me see here. Taihai Geijitsu-ten. This is the 3rd of their albums that is out of print. Those 3 in a row are out of print. However, I was able to track one down on Discogs from a seller called Preserving Hardcore. And actually, he has a lot of Ningen Isu albums. So if you're looking for some and you want to check out if you can get some that are not as expensive as wherever you're buying them, you might want to check out Preserving Hardcore on Discogs. That's where I got this, the only mint copy I could find. It was expensive, but it's worth it. This one here on that ranking of their albums, that person ranked this as their number 1 album. I have read some reviews of this by other English speakers, foreigners anyway. It gets really high praise. It is heavy rock, heavy psychedelic. Really cool. The sound is also very dated. It sounds like something from the early 70s. You know, if you had given me Flower Traveling Brand, Satori, Demon and 11 Children by Blues Creation, Injanaika by Mops, and this, and I'd listened to them, I would have thought this was right in there with the others, all albums from the early 70s. But it's not. It's 1998. Fabulous album. The title actually is translated as degenerate art exhibition, and that actually comes from 1920s and early 30s Nazi Germany, I think mostly 30s anyway. They were really against modern art, and modern art was hung on exhibit in some cities, but hung very poorly, like just thrown on the wall and crooked, and given titles to basically slander the artist and artwork, because they only wanted classical German style artwork, not modern crap. And so that's where the title for this album comes from. And there's an interesting couple of songs on here, and one of them it's called Kusozu no Scatto. Now, it's translated in English as the scat of a rotting corpse. And I was curious about that because kusozu is not a rotting corpse. So I looked it up. Kusozu, first of all, sozu is a chart, basically showing stages of something. And ku is 9, so it's 9 stages of something. However, what I found was that in the Heian period, about 1,000 years ago in Japan, there was some Buddhist artwork, 9 stages of a rotting corpse. Someone had died. When the gases started to fill up in the body, they removed the body, put it outside, and then somebody recorded the stages of decay of the human body. And that's the inspiration for that song. One really fun one on here is Murano Hazare no De Big Bang, which is just a really fun song about an explosion on the outside of the village, I guess. And the last song, The Dunwich Horror, is of course based on the H.P. Lovecraft story. So if you can, well, it's on iTunes, or you might be able to also like get it from some streaming thing. I don't know. Finding a copy of this on CD, guaranteed it's going to be difficult and expensive. Good luck to you. Haha. Okay. Let's see here. What are the other rankings for that one, by the way? 95% on Encyclopedia Metallum, 9.5 on Metal Storm, 5 stars on Amazon, number 1, as I said, on the Ningen Isu albums ranked. Okay, the next few albums I'm going to go through kind of quickly, because from here there is a change in their sound, I feel. We start with this one. Let me see here, what was the title again? Nijuseki Sosokyoku, which basically means the funeral song for the 21st century. Second album now with Masahiro Goto on as a permanent member of the band. His third album with the band. It continues again with the heavy rock, hard rock style, less psychedelic than the previous album. And then we go through a series of albums. I forget what this one is called. Kaijin Niju Menso, right? Sometimes I can't remember the kanji. Kaijin Niju Menso. This one, Mishiranu Sekai, The Unknown World. And the last one with Masahiro Goto, Shurabayashi, is the last album with Masahiro Goto. Okay, now the reason why I'm separating these is because I feel the sound over these albums, they still keep some of the doom elements and some of the straightforward heavy metal elements, but the sound of the guitars is getting less metal and a little bit more alternative rock. It's just different, and I think because of that sound they were able to do other things, which means that we start to get more of the alternative rock sound coming into the music, mingling with the other stuff. The really thick, heavy stuff is going out somewhat. You still find your doomy tracks on here, your stoner metal, but there's more of a stoner rock rather than metal, more of a hard rock rather than heavy metal, and more of an alternative rock than heavy prog, let's say. So that's those ones. Their rankings are, let me see here, we have 90%, 9, 4.5 stars, and 5 for Nijuseki Sosokyoku. Kaiming Niju Menso, 88%, 8.7, 4, and number 7 ranking Mishiranu Sekai, 92%, 9, 4, and number 16. Still though, some interesting songs on here, that's for sure. And the last one here, Shurabayashi, 90%, 9, 3.5 stars on Amazon, and 13th place. So this kind of falls in the middle where some people think it's really great, other people think it's alright. There are definitely some good songs on here though, and this is where I think I should interject and say that there is basically no bad Ningen Isu album. There is no album where they might look back and say, yeah, we don't really know what happened with that. You know, there are some albums by, say, like Yes or Black Sabbath or Deep Purple, where later on it's like, well, yeah, we kind of, you know, did something wrong there. We trusted the wrong person, or the band was split over something, and the result is not a totally solid album. Ningen Isu don't seem to have that problem. I think Wajima and Suzuki, they know what they want. They write almost all the songs. There are some drummer credits here and there and some drummer vocals here and there, but basically Wajima and Suzuki know what they want, and I think they don't release an album until they are satisfied that's what they want to sound like. So there's none of this, well, we left too much of it up to the producer, or we should have been more involved. Whatever they did, that's what they wanted to do. And of course some albums are better by each person's opinion than others, but there is no stinker album, and that is echoed throughout the internet. Anything I read about them so far, anybody has said every album is good. There are no duds. Okay. I have a funny feeling I'm talking too much. Let's move along. Okay, so here we get on to now, let's see here, Sang Akudo Chu Hizakure. This is the first album with Nobu Nakajima on drums. And now the interesting thing about the title, this Sang Akudo, it actually comes from Buddhist teaching. It is the 3 roads to evil, basically. And this Dochu Hizakure is from a story called Tokaido Chu Hizakure, written in the early 1800s about 2 guys who are walking on the Tokaido route from Kyoto to Tokyo and their misadventures. So it's interesting because this is the 3 ways to evil. Basically, you could translate it as misadventures on the road to the 3 ways, on the 3 roads to evil or something, but it's basically translated as hiking to hell, which sounds pretty cool in English, but I think the deeper meaning in here, there's some kind of humorous twist to it, which I like. Anyway, we are still in this more alternative rock, stoner rock, hard rock sound, occasional bits of maybe like Beatles type song, or kind of more lighter, almost radio friendly alternative type song, or rock and roll type song with some rock and roll, traditional rock and roll guitar solo. It's in there. So again, of course, there are still the heavier ones too, but that's where we are with this. Then that is probably basically the last of the albums to follow that course. From there on, the guitar sound starts to, album by album, get a little bit richer. What are the rankings for that one? Sang Akudo Chu Hizakuri-ge, sorry. 92%, Encyclopedia Metallum. 9 stars, Metal Storm. 5 stars, Amazon. And number 15 on the ranking of the 19 albums. Now, next up is Fuchiku. Yeah, this is the way the CD is. That's proper. That's the way the booklet is put in. It's upside down, which could be like, this is the way you read books in Japan. You start from the back. Start from the back. This is the front in Japan. And if you do that, then the CD works the same way. This is the front in Japan. However, this is the way it goes in other places in the world. Kind of confusing. But anyway, what about this album? Well, first of all, Fuchiku is the kanji is actually basically, well, it means what Fuchiku means in voodoo. Not the American use of Fuchiku. We're talking about the voodoo use of Fuchiku, which is basically kind of giving your mind over to voodoo magic kind of thing. And that's exactly what it gives us here. The last kanji actually means kind of madness or insanity. Thicker guitar sound, getting heavier, the aggression in the music is coming back. And one really cool song that I like on here is Kyofu Fujitsubo Ningen, which means terror, barnacle human. Which is a song talking about all sorts of bizarre people like the mold man and mushroom man and barnacle man and so on, coming to rain terror upon the town. Pretty cool. Yeah, getting heavier, getting more interesting. What are the ranks on here? 96% Encyclopedia Metallum, 9 on Metal Storm, 3.5 Wow, 3.5 on Amazon. Only one of 2 albums rated 3.5 stars, and number 3 on the list of Ningen Isu albums ranked. How am I gonna put this back again? I guess just this way. We move on. Natsu no Yoru no Yume. This is Midsummer Night's Dream. Based on, of course, the Shakespeare play. Well, the title is anyway. Again, we are following, still getting back into the metal sound now. More metal than hard rock. And again, I guess over these next few albums, what we're looking at is Ningen Isu getting heavier. As usual, lots of great songs. I don't think there's anything in particular. My apologies. It seems that the camera suddenly stopped recording as I was talking about this album here. Anyway, as I was saying, Ningen Isu are getting heavier. This is a nice heavy album. I actually was listening to 3 or 4 of the songs this morning, and I was really impressed, thinking, yes, this actually is a very great heavy album, even though the ratings are not as strong on some of those rating lists there. Sorry, now I've packed all the papers away because I thought I was done recording. So I'm just going to say this album is where the heaviness really starts to come in again. And actually the one after it, I actually prefer this one better, I think, right now. Anyway, there it is. Natsu no Yume no... Manatsu no Yoru no Yume. That's what it is. Okay, enough. Now back to the rest of the video with the proper camera. Next up is Mirai Romanha. This is the future romanticism, or school of romantic study. Not as in romance, as in classical romanticism. Anyway, just basically following the same course, we are releasing a good, heavy, hard-hitting album with some great songs on here. What do we got for ranking? Again, nothing on Encyclopedia Metallum this time. 9 on Metal Storm, 4.5 stars on Amazon, number 18 out of 19 on the list. Okay. Then, at this point here, now they've already released 2 compilation albums up to this point, and this is the 20-year anniversary compilation, double disc. 3 of the songs from the EP appear on here, re-recorded. As well, if you're looking for those out-of-print CDs, Odoru Isumboshi, there are 3 tracks on here. What was the other one? Mugen no Junin, there are 2 tracks on here. But the Tai-Hai Gauges 10, nothing is on here. In fact, out of all their compilation albums, there's only 1 that has 1 track from that album. So basically, your choices are iTunes or good luck in tracking it down. But anyway, yeah, if you have all these other albums and you don't have the ones that are out of print, there are 9 songs on this compilation that you will not get on the other albums. So that's pretty cool. So that's that one, their 20-year anniversary, Niju Shunen Kinen, Niju Shunen Kinen Best Bang. Okay. Coming down to near the end of it now, but this is the point where we see a change in the band and the heaviness, the metal sound is really coming in here. So let's just take a quick look at, what the heck is this called now? Shigang Rai-san. Basically, this means to worship the world meaning this world in which we live, not some fantasy world, although it does seem like a kind of fantasy world cover on this one here. I was just listening to some of the tracks earlier this morning, and yeah, okay, this is where they're really starting to get that metal sound going that you might have heard if you watched some of their recent videos. I like this one. What do we got on here? 93% ratings on Encyclopedia Metallum, 9 on Metal Storm, 4.5 stars, Amazon, number 12, but still with some very good comments on the Ningen Isu albums ranked. Then, this one here, Mandoro. Okay, now we are into the metal Ningen Isu. This is heavy metal, heavy prog, progressive metal, basically, yeah, kick ass. We are on the road to kicking ass. So let's see here. Mandoro is, let's see here, 98% on 98% on Encyclopedia Metallum, 9 on Metal Storm, 4.5 stars on Amazon, and number 6 on the long list of 19 albums. Yep, I'm gonna say, if you start from the recent album, work your way back. Yeah, the last 5. Stopping it here, That's great. Great, great, great. But still, you could go one back more or two back more. Anyway, then we come up to Burai Hojo, which basically means freedom and luxury. Love the artwork. This was one of the first albums I bought because of this artwork here. This is the song, the CD that has Namahage on here. Also some other great ones. Jigoku no Ryorinin, which is basically the Cook of Hell fun song. And the last track on here also, sometimes there's a kind of voivod feel to some of their songs. They put in those weird voivod chords. And maybe I should also mention that the interaction between these two, Wajima and Suzuki, many people also compare it to Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee, that kind of tightness between guitar and bass. So pretty cool. This album, let me see here, it wasn't given such a high ranking on the list. It was given place number 14. I think it's great. I listened to the whole thing through the other day. I think all but one of the tracks were just really awesome, and the other one was just very good. 97% on Encyclopedia Metallum, 9 stars on Metal Storm, 4.5 stars on Amazon. Okay. Last 3 then. Kaidan soshite Shi to Eros. This is album number 19, and boy, are we really onto heavy now. In fact, the guy who ranked their first 19 albums, this is of course the last one on his list, says that this is their heaviest album yet. Oh yeah. But I mean, they were already doing that from Mandoro, basically. Great stuff. 96% Encyclopedia Metallum, 9 on Metal Storm, that's 9 out of 10. 4.5 stars, Amazon, number 8 on that guy's list. Cool. Is there anything here to mention? Kyofu no Daio. There's a video for that. Someone did, what's it called now? Deck versus Japan. DEC versus Japan. Did a reaction video to that song. The guy loved it. Why not? Excellent song. Heavy and proggy as well. Yeah. All I can say is we are still on the very heavy metal Ningen Isu roll here. We come up to album number 20, Ichigen Kara no Hoko, The Roar from Another Dimension. Yeah, some great titles going on here. Like the Barnacle Man one. Anyway, 92% on Encyclopedia Metallum, 9 on Metal Storm, 4.5 on Amazon, and of course, not on the top 19 albums list because this is album number 20. But yeah, there we go. Another nice, heavy, enjoyable Ningen Isu album, which brings us to this year's release, 2019. This is, what's it called again? Shin Seinen, New Youth. This is the one with Heartless Scat. Now, the interesting thing I should point out, Heartless Scat, it's Mujo no Scat. Mujo is not heartless. It means expressionless, without feeling. Heartless, of course, sounds like cruel or malicious. No, this is the expressionless scat, actually. Which is a very cool song because it's about a guy who is basically asking the angels and the goddess and Buddha to bless his life with good fortune and success because he's had so many failures in his life. But partway through, he also then realizes that everybody has that kind of wish out in the town. Thousands of people are all wishing for success and, escape from failure. And so basically, through the happiness of all, we can have a happy society is kind of the message in that there. Another very good, excellent album. In fact, just by now, they've just done like the last 5 or 6 albums have all been really great, heavy metal albums with lots of progressive elements. No ranking on Encyclopedia Metallum, only 8 on Metal Storm, 4.5 stars on Amazon, and of course nothing on that guy's list. Definitely it's a good album. I just think that by now we have had such a streak of good albums. It's kind of hard to say that this one is really that much better than any of the other ones, and so maybe because of that it's not ranked as highly. It's just, oh, another great album. Well done. Anyway, so that is a long run through of 19, or basically all 21 of their albums. They do have a 25-year anniversary compilation. only one song from their 5th album and 2 songs from their 6th album, nothing from their 7th. That's why I went for the 20-year one. There's just more that I can't get. But there were 4 new tracks on that. And then they've got their 30-year anniversary album due out December 11th. Okay, so I hope that gives you a decent rundown of their albums. I wrote all these notes for myself, which I probably just glazed over. But anyway, that's Ningen Isu. I'm totally hooked. I'm listening to them every day, basically. Anybody else who's felt, wow, I gotta check these guys out, please do. And if you can't understand Japanese, I can only understand if I read the lyrics with a dictionary. It's okay. Just really cool, awesome music. So do check it out. That's enough yattering for me. Next episode is going to be about black metal because I went to an Emperor concert and I just gotta talk about black metal next. So that's it for episode 22. See you in episode 23. Ciao. Okay, so I'm here to give you a kind of a breakdown of Heartless Scat by Ningen Isu, also known as Mujo no Scatto in Japanese. Over here we see the song starts at 3-0, and the first 54 seconds, that's just the intro, the whole guitar bit there going with the repeated notes and the build up with the drums and the gong. And that finishes, and then it continues. They go back to this guitar bit there, and this is where a lot of people think the song is starting to repeat, and people think, oh, there are no vocals coming in, is this going to be boring? But at 1 minute 11 seconds, the song suddenly begins erupting with this chugging riff and everything. And the song goes on until 2 minutes and 3 seconds. That's where the first chorus comes in. And that's the scat part with the shabba dabba deo, shabba dabba deo, shabba dabba deo, ba 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 ba, like that there. And then at 3 minutes and 15 seconds, the song actually goes back to what they were doing at the intro back here. And you might think, oh, okay, now we're going to get this long intro again. But actually, it's just a tease. Because at 3 minutes and 36 seconds, they introduce an entirely new riff, and it starts to sound like it's an entirely new song starting. And they sing for a bit there, play, it's really good. And then at 4 minutes and 17 seconds, you get the second guitar solo. I mean, the first guitar solo. And what a ripping solo that is. Mr. Wajima, you really know how to play that thing. And then we go back to the song again, but this time instead of lyrics, Mr. Wajima is just singing the do 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 part. And then at when we reach 5 minutes and 20 seconds, we actually return to the song, which started way back here at 1 minute and 11 seconds. So now we're back to that. And then after that goes through, and one more time with the chorus, at 6 minutes and 31 seconds, now we get this whoa part in the vocals, and then an entirely new riff comes in again. And then at 7 minutes, we get this really cool Black Sabbath type riff. And then at 7 minutes and 14 seconds, the second guitar solo comes in. What a ripping solo that is, Mr. Wajima. And then it goes to the music, the bum 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 bum, and you think the song might be wrapping up, but then at 7 minutes and 28 seconds, Mr. Wajima gives us a third guitar solo. What a ripping solo that is. And then we go on to like 7 minutes and 53 seconds, and suddenly the song changes again. It's this really almost thrashy type part, until finally at 8 minutes and 8 seconds, the song actually finishes. And then until 8 minutes and 22 seconds, we just get the sustained guitar that's just going out until it's all done. Now the CD track actually continues until 8 minutes and 41 seconds, and I think this 19 seconds of blank space is because the final track on the CD, I think it's a bonus track, right? So with the bonus track, they leave you a bit of a blank space there before that comes in. But essentially we're talking about like 8 minutes and 22 seconds song. 8 minute 22 second song here that is in multiple parts with 3 guitar solos, and I think as this is the first single released from the new album, it just goes to show that Ningen Isu really don't care about what the mainstream market demands, and they're just gonna go and do what they want to do, and I say more power to them for that.